Hey, another great. I'm excited. We're talking to Randy May. How are you?
Who's this?
Randy is.
No,
Well,
no,
what?
who are you?
Who am I? I'm Jim.
You said the call just started. Hey,
Okay,
Jimmy, you must be Jim Mahar with BonaResponds.
you got it.
All right.
You got
You
it.
all are my favorite group ever in life.
Well, I'm glad it was.
What do you want, Jimmy? As long as it's not money, you can have it.
Well, I think we'll do a quick interview with you. How's that?
Okay, no such thing as quick when you're an old fat white guy like me, but go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I guess just background. I'm trying to capture memories and past trips that we've done, and people who were very critical in our development as a volunteer organization. And clearly, our trips down to work with you were some of the highlights that we've ever had. So I was hoping we could just talk a little about what you did after Katrina and how the role of volunteers made a big impact in the area, etc. So why don't we just start off and tell when Katrina hit, what were you doing before the day before Katrina hit? I mean, you weren't a volunteer organizer, so what were you doing?
I was a very happy horseshoer in Austin, Texas, playing golf every day, going out dancing almost every night, just having a wonderful time. And it was I think a Saturday after one of our golf games. We're sitting there watching the disaster on TV, and there's CNN flying over a house where people are sitting on the house, and the CNN guy's saying, "Oh, these guys sure could use some water." And the next day, I'm watching the same thing, and the helicopter flies over. Oh, there's those same people. Bet they could use some water. And I was thinking, well, why don't you just drop them some? So I said, I got to go down there. So a church locally had some stuff they wanted to send to a church in Hattiesburg. And I knew I couldn't go to New Orleans because it's under martial law, and I got all these warrants out for me. So I went to Hattiesburg and got there about 9 o'clock at night, and pastor of the church where I was taking the donations was helping work below the tracks, which was shut off and under military law at that time. And his wife had been down there all day dealing with the people of past Christian. She walked up at the same time I walked up. I mean, this is purely a God thing here. She walks up and tells her husband they really need somebody to run a distribution center down there. They're being inundated with all these donations and blah, 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 blah. And it was at that time that I remembered not only am I a horseshoer, but I have a degree in physical distribution and I am a logistics expert. I said, oh my. I said, well, raised my hand and said, that could be me. So next day I'm down there below the track starting the first distribution center in the past. That's important to y'all because what that did was put me on the ground with the survivors and the very first groups that were there. And from then until the point, even now, knowing who and what and where the need really was, which is what most groups like you need when they come in. They don't know the area. That y'all are from New York. This is down here on the coast in Mississippi. You don't know who needs what, and all you can do is just listen. And you're not sure what the guy's going to be telling you or who the people are. So it took a guy or someone in my position that was inundated with all that information. We ran the distribution center for about 3 months, I think, serving about 2,000 people a day. It was a need, and we had the only water, we had food and clothes,
and approximately, I mean, I don't know if you remember, but how many people lived in Pass Christian? I mean, when before the storm, how big was it?
Well, there was the elementary school. They hardly had anybody in this elementary school, which of course got rebuilt like the Taj Mahal down there for maybe 100 kids that were under the age of 6. Mostly it was, what happened down there on 95 on the highway where all the big houses were, and I couldn't tell you exactly the number.
Okay.
But it couldn't have been more than 2 or 3,000.
Yeah, that was the point. That essentially, if you're helping 2,000 a day, you're basically helping the entire town.
They were coming from all over the coast. They were coming from out of state. People were coming in there and taking advantage of the situation. We had people from Alabama and Louisiana coming in there just to load up on free stuff.
Oh, okay.
So that was a depressing part of it. But the other part is, like we had people coming in, a woman coming in that wanted one baggie because she had a piece of jewelry that she had found, which was all that was left of her house and her life, and she wanted that one baggie. And these other people are coming in stealing MREs and everything else. Just so you're helping the desperate and you're helping the desolate and the and the
Sure,
desperate.
but one thing I really liked about the way, I mean, and we still deal with this now. Sometimes I'm not saying we've never been burned, but I feel that's much better than having the bureaucracy in place. I mean, there's a cost of helping, and whether it's a bureaucracy that's going to spend millions of dollars or whatever to make sure you help just the people who are in the worst need, or I mean, our motto has just been to help whoever we can, and we don't means test them. We just say, hey, you need help, we'll do it.
Right.
Yeah.
And that was real easy because for me that was the same thing too. There were lots of people getting help that didn't need it. Lots of people that weren't getting any help that did need it, and FEMA had no idea which way they were going and still don't. And Salvation Army and Red Cross had certain roles that they could play, but when they tried to play the larger roles,
it's tough. I mean, it's an information game, and unless you're on the ground, it is often very, very difficult.
Exactly.
I mean,
so I had the people themselves coming through there, and so I knew who was what. I knew their situations. We had one guy sleeping under a table in our camp every night. Later on, we ended up building his house was one of the houses that we built. His whole house had been destroyed, and he was, a psychological wreck. And
can we talk about that?
Story after story.
Can we talk about that for a little bit? The psychological problems of afterwards, of losing everything. And I know one of the things I always remember from down there is how you said that we brought volunteers, not just us by any stretch. Hundreds of thousands probably of volunteers across the country came down from New Orleans to Biloxi, Waveland. I mean, across the whole past Christiane, of course. What was the role that the volunteers played in helping not just rebuilding, but helping the mentally rebuild as well?
Y'all didn't know that you were doing that, and the victims didn't know that was happening. But as a third party, an objective viewer, I could see it happening coming from both sides. That y'all gave them a shoulder to cry on. You came in, you had a lot of youth, you had a lot of happy people, so you lifted their spirits. They could see you doing positive things. Y'all did more positive things. You didn't just drag around. I hate to badmouth AmeriCorps, but they were a disaster down there. They came down and smoked dope and played basketball, and then got all the press and y'all didn't get any press, and y'all did all the work. Campus Crusade for Christ came down and did the same thing, worked hard and did the mucking, did the chores that nobody wanted to do and weren't physically able to do. The young kids that did all the mucking of the houses and cleaned them out to the point that the guys with a little talent, building talent, could start rebuilding them. But they couldn't have got in there and mucked them out. So everybody worked together. Everything was a cog in the machine. But y'all kind of covered the whole spectrum. You came in, and fortunately, I'm not even sure how we ever even got in touch with each other, but it was a joy for me.
I actually, what happened is an interesting story because we were supposed to come down. We were leaving. I'm gonna guess it was December 28th. I don't know for sure. It was after Christmas. We were leaving, and on December 23rd, I got a message from the place we were supposed to be staying with, saying, "Oh, we no longer have a place for you to stay. We are there's another group, and I won't name their name, but it's a big one. You've heard of them. That are coming down, and we are going to reserve the room for them instead." And consequently, we were not knowing where to go. Someone gave us your name, and I
think you just pulled up on the place.
Well, we did call up front because we were there, and you said didn't have many volunteers at that point because you were moving from down by right by the water, down
elementary school.
By the elementary school.
For the elementary school, so we had to move on over.
Yep, you were getting kicked out, and we helped. Our first trip, predominantly what we did was help build the camp for future volunteers, and then we used the future volunteers as well. But when we went down many times to stay with you.
So y'all were part of helping us move those big wooden tents, those
Yeah.
military tents from that other site that was shutting down.
Yeah.
That was the biggest advantage. I mean, that gave us a very nice camp, and that was a chore.
Yeah.
It was a big chore.
Yeah, and
But that gave us, out of that, we ended up with, we had sites for 26 RVs, which allowed groups like from Alabama, the old guys, they travel around the country in RVs and do a lot of work. And they came down, they were able to come stay for a while. And all the groups, of course, we were backed by American Baptist churches, and so they helped.
They helped a lot, yeah.
Fund a lot of the construction and put that great stove in there. We had the greatest stove on the coast, commercial or whatever. It was beautiful. We had a nice kitchen. We had a nice everything thanks to you guys, and
it worked
we got
well.
all that built. And then, of course, by helping do that, you helped every other group that came through there. So that's just how it worked. And then you made it possible for the next group to come in and do whatever they did. And of course, thankfully, y'all came back
many times.
And
we came back
into how many times you did come back. Right?
I think we were there. I think we stayed with you 6 times, if I remember correctly. And we made 9 trips to the coast completely. And I think the last 6 of them were with you. Yeah, until basically until you
because it was the most efficient and the best run, and you actually knew you were going to get something done.
Well, that was a big deal, that we could get something done, and that we didn't have to sit around and yeah, it was good, and I liked it.
I did not allow people to sit around. Matter of fact, one group left because I got on them because they didn't show up at breakfast at 7 o'clock. The first day I warned them. The second day I jumped all over them, and the wife said, "We're loading up and leaving." I said goodbye. So y'all got there coming to work. That was your whole game plan. Y'all came down intending to do something, not just to come down and relax on the coast. So, that was.
It was a good fit, and we enjoyed it, and we still thank you for the ability to work there. One of my favorite parts of the trips were always, and I think that I don't know if you still have it. I couldn't find a picture. I was looking for a picture of it just now, but the tree and the story.
The oak tree. It's one of the largest oak trees in Mississippi.
It's
been around for 750 years, and we would go down there, and everybody would get in that tree, and it's like that tree held you like the family that you became, and that we all became family, and that tree sat there and told you, well, you should have seen the hurricane we had 500 years ago. So it always lets you know there was more history to life than just what happened the last few days. Yeah. But y'all have no idea, and never will, the total impact of your trips. I mean, you see the hammer and nail things, and you see the camaraderie and the rapport that you built with your team, and you even see a few thank yous from the people, and there wasn't nearly enough thank yous.
They had other things on their mind. We don't. Yeah, I mean, it was fine.
I understand. None of us that do this do it for the thank yous. But as the objective observer, I couldn't thank you enough because y'all just thought I was BSing you, which of course most of the time I was. But no, it was fabulous, and that tree I think represented everything. We ended up using that as the symbol of the camp, and we got one of the trees that one of the girls did for us with dots, and I've got pictures around here somewhere, and we've got massive numbers of video, but they're on a computer that's locked up and we can't get into because I'm an idiot. But
the tree with the dots is what I was thinking of. How each dot, just tell a little about that, because I think that speaks a lot of that everyone can do something, and how
everybody, every little kid, every old fart, every active, good-looking guy like you that ran the herd, is just a dot. We each had a little bitty function, but you put all those together, and it made this huge oak tree that was gorgeous and withstood the test of time and stood for everything good. And the tragedy was just that, it was a tragedy. It was over in a day's time, and then it was everything from there forward that was amazing. It was the love that you guys poured out coming down, and literally thousands of other groups and churches. We had a church in every weekend. I had somebody from every college in the country come through at one time or another. and like I say, not all were as efficient as you guys, like none of them, because you have organized, and I learned a lot from you about organization and coordinating the team and herding cats. It was pretty amazing. So,
thank you.
You know, we all learned a lot from each other. We shared a lot. You know, we created bonds that you know, I'll never forget you guys. You know,
and vice versa.
I get real emotional thinking about it. So.
And vice versa. I totally I know for years when we go to different trips or whatever, I still call or text and say, hey, we're going to wherever it is, Oklahoma, or you know, after Sandy, etc. I mean,
right, and yeah. I love following you guys on Facebook, and since you taught me how to do that, and seeing what you're up to, and it thrills me that you're still at it. Because, and it takes, you know, someone's got to lead. Somebody's got to call it together and do the hard work of finding the chores and coordinating the stuff. And if you don't do it, nobody else is going to do it. So there you go.
Well, thank you, but I'm sure.
I know you don't want any of the praise, so I won't give you any. But I could give it all to Carrie. She did all the work.
And James, don't forget James.
Oh yeah, James. Can't forget James.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Everybody worked together, and your group was easy to handle because they all had their hearts in the right place and came motivated. And, I've watched some of those girls grow up on Facebook and get married and all this, and it's kind of like they were my kids or something. So it's kind of neat. Yeah. I enjoy following their lives.
And yes, I agree. I definitely agree. And I don't know if you've been back to Past Christian. What's it like now? I mean, did most people come back? And by the way, just so full disclosure, this question is coming from Heather, who texted me. I texted and said I was going to be interviewing you today, and she texted to want to know what it's like now, when the last time you've seen it. So.
Well, speaking of Heather, I have a stained glass that she did for us that's still up here in the house, and it's a special memento thing we keep. We have more stained glass than we have house, and we live in a 500 square foot efficiency that I built over a barn because we ran out of money. But we have treasures like that make it, you know, a palace. But as far as people coming back, I would say 10% came back. Maybe 20 at the max, but the area we were camped at the last time, the corner of Past Christian, where prior to the hurricane there had been 469 houses. After the hurricane, there were 29, and the rest of those vacancies being complete slabs. You know, the houses were completely gone. Those people apparently got their money and decided they could do better with their life than stand up to the next hurricane. So,
wow, I didn't know it was that low.
And people on the other side of the tracks that had no choice, a lot of those people that we built far back there, you know, those houses had been in their families for 100 years, and you know, they didn't have insurance, and they couldn't have replaced what they had with what little insurance would have covered on them anyway. And so the fact that we were able to build, I think we built about 30 houses and roofed probably 100, and no telling what other kind of remodeling repairs. And I don't even know who to attribute what to, because everybody was a part of everything. So you take as much a part of all those houses, you know, as any other group, and probably more. Like I say, y'all came more, y'all did more, y'all were right on top of everything. Well, that was the extent of the place. Those are the people that needed it. They had no other choice. They didn't get, you know, like Emerald or Ellen DeGeneres' mother or grandmother, whoever was living down there, both of them lived down there, you know, got multi-millions for their houses, which were palaces to say the least, and washed away. But it's, you know, the people that were in the back on the other side of that track that had never been affected by it before and got flooded by the bay when it backed up and came in. The surge came in, and you would think that the people up front, and it did drown a lot of people up front, but the people that died were in the back basically because they stayed thinking, well, it's never hit us before, and it didn't from the ocean side, it did from the bay side, and you know, they dealt with a 20-foot surge, and lots of people drowned in their houses. So, and then those houses were destroyed, and y'all, you know, for a long time, one of those houses was sitting on a road down there that a bulldozer from FEMA or the Corps had just driven right through the middle of it to clear the road. So for a long time, we drove right through the middle of that house to get to another site where we picked up ice and stuff, and back and forth. And that was the only road through. And it was, there was a lot of, it was a desperate time down there in the beginning. Nobody had, we had the water for the National Guard, for the military, for the sheriffs, for the police, for fire. It was amazing, and we didn't order it. We didn't know where it was coming from, but every day somehow trailer load would end up in there, and every day there'd be groups like you walking across the corner, and I would yell at them and say, "You are now volunteers. Get in there and unload this trailer." I was probably the most hated man down there, to be sure.
Well, that does sound like you yelling. I can picture that right now. Get over here.
Yeah, I didn't care who you were and what uniform you had on. You belonged to me if you were on my corner. So
yeah. Just so you know, and I think you know, but our listeners probably don't, that Randy's lives on in a way. We still have many of the tools, not many, quite a few tools that you donated to us when you decided that it was done down there, and we have a cooler that we still use that came directly from there, and a few other things, lights and whatnot that are still, a few hammers are still not broken, but so yeah.
That's pretty amazing, but you got a tub of those, so there should have been some survivors there. Even you can't mess up a hammer,
You haven't seen me.
But no, if it's got pink on it that says Randy's Rangers, then it came from down there. So.
Yep, there's still stuff being used, and so in some way the Randy's Rangers are still living on and helping people wherever we go.
Well, I think that's beautiful. I appreciate to go with you. No matter what, I'm proud to go with you guys. You're a heck of a group, and I hope they understand how important they are, and that if they're going to do anything and help other people, that you're the group to do it with, because it'll mean something, and it'll mean something to them for the rest of their lives, as well as to the people they've helped. So,
well, thank you very much. That's very
fabulous job, and you got. Even though y'all are usually a bunch of Yankees, you do a pretty good
job. well, thank you very much, and I look forward to meeting up with you again. Our paths cross again. I hope under much better circumstances, but it was a wonderful, horrible time. It was horrible in so many ways, but the people we worked with and the people we helped made it a wonderful time at the same time. So. Thank you.
It did. As far as Heather goes, she's still got lots of friends down there. Andrea and Carolyn and some of the people we helped there at the end, and that she made great friendships with. And so she's welcome down there anytime. I probably stayed long enough to wear my welcome out.
No.
Well, but y'all are welcome anywhere you go, and of course you're welcome here anytime if you want to come build my house. So.
Okay, well, you never know; it might show up. Be careful.
You never know when you're just bored to tears and want to drive 3,000 miles. I know.
Yeah. Well, hey, Randy, thanks so much.
If there's any questions that you've got that I haven't answered, feel free to ask, or feel free to call me later, and
will do.
Fill in the gaps.
Thanks so much, and say hi to Deb, and thank you very much for just everything.
And the same to you guys, and good luck in everything y'all do.
Yep.